Okay, fifth graders, we are back to read another story from the genre of fantasy. And you remember, fantasy are stories that are not true because they often have things like magic in it. Today, we're going to talk about one part of fantasy stories. We've talked about characters. We've talked about setting. Now we're going to talk about the quest that the character is on. Quest is another word for journey or expedition. So the journey that the character is on. So we'll talk about that after I read it. This story today is called Princess Frog by Enid Richmond, illustrated by Galia Bernstein. Princess Frog. Princess Miranda was tired of being a princess. She was tired of dressing up. She was sick of crowns and jewels. "You have to wear them," said the queen, "because you're a princess." She doesn't look happy, does she? One day she went to see her godmother, who was a witch. "Turn me into something different," she begged. So Miranda's godmother turned her into a frog. She looks happy, doesn't she? Miranda liked being a frog. She liked floating on lily pads and leaping through the leaves and catching flies. One evening, she leaped into a park where a young gardener was working. "Look at that frog," the gardener said to his friend. "Let's catch it and keep it in the lily pond." The next morning, the gardener went to look at his very own frog. Miranda was leaping around. The gardener laughed. "If I found a girl as funny as you, I might even marry her," he joked. "Take me home," croaked Miranda. "A frog that speaks?" said the gardener, surprised. So the gardener took Miranda back to his cottage, and she sat beside him in a bowl. Remember, that's part of fantasy, or animals that talk, right? And we just found a frog that talked, so we know for sure it's a fantasy genre. "If you give me a kiss," said Miranda, "I might even turn into a princess." "I don't kiss frogs," said the gardener, but he did it anyway. Suddenly, a pretty girl stood beside him. He fell deeply in love. "Princess Frog, will you marry me?" he asked. But Miranda wasn't quite sure. "No more dressing up?" she asked. The gardener laughed. "Jeans and sandals. I don't know. Looks like they forgot to put the next word somewhere." "No more crowns," said Miranda. "They give me such a headache." The gardener laughed. "No crowns here," he said. "And I'll need to keep leaping," Miranda added. "I'll build you a trampoline," promised the gardener. "Okay," said Miranda. "If I don't have to dress like a princess, I will marry you." And so they were married, though the queen did not approve of Miranda's wedding outfit. What's her outfit? Looks like tennis shoes, jeans, and a t-shirt. Yeah, I can see why a woman who wears dresses and crowns and jewels would not like Miranda's outfit. And of course, they lived happily ever after. But every once in a while, Miranda slipped back into her frog skin and floated happily on a lily pad in the pond. Oh, look at, there's that fairy godmother with her little magic wand. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, I forgot. You see right here? This is the trampoline, isn't it? A little one just for one person to leap and jump. The end. So these are some more puzzles you can do. Putting the pictures in order. Which one is really A? When they got married, that's not the first thing. So put them in order. And puzzle 2, read the sentences and decide who said it. This one, number 1, says, I hate wearing crowns. Well, definitely the Princess Miranda, not the gardener, not the queen. Number 2, I'm in love with the princess. Now, who said that? Yeah, the gardener. Okay. So let's go back. We've talked about characters. We know we have important characters. For sure, the princess, right? Okay, so we know that she started in her castle, her own castle, and she was unhappy. So that's the beginning of her quest, or her journey. But where did she go after that? She went to go and talk to her godmother, didn't she? Which led her to water, to ponds, to the gardener who was intrigued or really liked her, and so took her and put her on his pond, where he fell in love with her as a frog, liked her quirky and fun jumping and leaping, and when she turned into a princess, he fell in love, asked her to marry him. So her quest was to do what? What was her purpose? Her purpose was to get out of doing all these princess things, right? Wearing the crowns, wearing the jewels and the dresses. And that was her quest. That was her journey. That's what she wanted to follow. And did she get it? Yeah, she kind of went on a different journey, a different way of getting there than most, but that was her quest, was to get away from doing all of these duties of a royal family member. So that was her quest. Now, think, what do you think the quest will continue to be? I don't know. She still turns into a frog. That godmother is kind of behind the bushes, like she's plotting or thinking about doing something. And I wonder what that is. Something to think about. We'll talk about continuing and what we're thinking might happen next in our stories, in our in our fantasy stories. Okay, that we'll talk about the next time we meet. All right, sounds good.